Hello, Lolo.
Hi, Tammy. It's good to see you.
Same, same.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 2 of the United States of Us. We have a few topics today for everybody, so we're looking forward to that. And one of the things we just thought we would jump right off into it and talk about COVID and what we experienced during COVID and how we sort of see that today. So, without further ado, let's jump right into that.
All right. Yeah, I think so, Tammy. And wow, who would have thought? Okay, so 2026, it's February. So that's a bit over 6 years since COVID first showed itself to the world. I think it was kind of I think it was maybe late 19 when we started hearing about it. And then in January of 2020, it really started coming to the forefront. And I think by March is when we shut down. And that was a really interesting time. I mean, we're being bombarded with so much, what I'm going to call fear mongering from the media and just what I was seeing on social media as well. And just all the uncertainty of what's happening and where is this coming from? And, we're all scared, all of us.
Yeah.
And then the next thing we know, we're told, okay, 2 weeks, we just need to shut down for 2 weeks and everybody needs to mask up and just 2 weeks is all we need. And I know for me, it was probably 2 months later before I was able to go back to work. We stayed in masks for, I know, until the following year. And that was tough. That was tough. So, me personally, I chose not to get the vaccine. I felt like it was really rushed. I didn't like that. I felt like I was, in a sense, almost being forced to do it, to go into certain establishments, go to, say, football games, hockey games, whatever, those events were because of the stadium policies. And it just, kind of like you mentioned last week about the makeup, when someone tells you to do something and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to
Oh,
do
yeah.
that. I dug my heels in and I'm like, I will not take the vaccine. I mean, you're going to have to put me down on the ground and hold me down and force it into me. So that was kind of my stance on it. What about you?
Well, I was actually working in healthcare at the time.
Okay.
And so we saw a lot of the outcomes of that particular disease. And we were the front line, we absolutely were. In the area where I worked at the hospital, we were responsible for placing dialysis catheters and, you know, um, working on stroke victims. So whenever we had a patient who would come in with COVID, there were only 3 people who could be in the room with that patient, and that was the doctor and me, the tech, and the nurse. And we literally had to put on lead aprons for the x-ray. We had to put on bunny suits um, with full face mask, in addition to our N95 mask underneath that. And then we had to actually scrub in on top of that. So we had scrub gowns and sterile gloves and shoe covers. So we had to do all of that for every patient. Um, and then when the case was over, we had to strip all of our stuff off before we could leave the room, put it in a contaminated basket, um, and we had to call environmental services to have HEPA filters brought into the room to actually clean the room before we could even use it, which was a good hour before we could even use it for the next patient. So my perspective on that is probably a little different. I didn't, in my mind, me not wearing makeup doesn't really risk anyone else, but me not taking a vaccination and being an unknown carrier of a disease like that could cost someone their life. And I was very, very aware of that. And I also, like, nobody wants to be forced to do anything. I get that part. However, I did a lot of research on the actual vaccine itself, and it was a new development. It's new science, essentially, new technology. And it was really an amazing development of the vaccine. The whole mRNA um, is like the best way that I know how to explain it is that it's like a suitcase, and it is a vaccination against any type of virus like that. So not only does it protect you from COVID, but it keeps protecting you from any other virus that might come back around like that. Um, and I also felt like a lot of it was driven by social media, a lot of the conflict, a lot of the um, division around it. You did this, and I did this, and our parents did this, and our grandparents did this, but we all had to have vaccinations to even go to school when we were kids. And is that right? I don't know. Maybe not. I do know that we eradicated polio. We eradicated several diseases that cost so many lives by doing that. Um, so I don't know. I know that just from the tracking that was occurring alone, this country or the United States lost over 500,000 people, died as a result of that disease. And that was heartbreaking to me. You know, 6 years later, in the bigger scheme of things, I am very grateful that my grandmother, who was a nurse her whole life, passed away in February 2020, and she didn't have to go through that. Um, I can see from a 30,000 foot view today that it was the beginning of the awakening. It's all been prophesied. Um, and although, I have personal friends who had to say goodbye to loved ones, over a telephone because they couldn't get in the hospital um, to see them. um, that it's just heartbreaking to me. The whole thing was just heartbreaking. And then to have the conflict on top of it and the division on top of it was almost unimaginable. Um, and I wore a mask every day at work. So it really wasn't that big of a deal to me. And the best way that I could explain that to someone else is, if you walk around in public without your pants on and someone pees, you could get pee on you, right? But if both of you are wearing pants, the chances of you getting pee on you are pretty much non-existent. And so that's kind of how I felt about the mask. And honestly, today, when we fly somewhere, when we go to an airport, I still wear a mask. I still take a mask with me because you just don't know where everybody has been. And, I wouldn't consider myself old, but I'm 58 now, and I don't want to be sick. I don't want to have a cold. I don't want to have the flu. And God knows I don't want to have COVID. I just
Yeah.
don't. Um, and I was lucky. Like I went probably 3 years before I got it. Um, so I know that a lot of that is due to my background, how I felt about it. I think some of it is because of what I saw actually happening as a result of it. It wasn't something I was hearing about on social media and hearing on the news, and it wasn't a partisan issue for me because I was living it, right? So, my perspective was a little different. It wasn't about being woke or, anything like that. It was really about saving lives, really, for me. And it was such a horrible way to die. When you can't breathe, it's just a horrible, horrible way to die. We lost one of our really good ER nurses to COVID, and he was a young man. Uh, and that, when it hits home, close to home like that, you sort of take that a little more personally. So, yeah, um, I am grateful, like I said, that my grandmother wasn't here to experience that because that would have been really awful for her. She was 97 when she died, and she died, like you said, about a month before everything really went full force on it. And even now, you know, I'm probably one of the first people who will tell you that I trust plant medicines and holistic medications way more than pharmaceutical medications. We don't take pharmaceutical medications, but I'm going to be the first one to tell you that some of the other medications that are out there that are used by vets for animals, I'm a little leery of that. Like you know, I don't know. I don't have any personal experience with that. So I'm not one to necessarily have an opinion, but for me personally, I'm a little leery of that. I mean, if I'm not going to trust human medications, I'm I just don't feel like the regulations are any better for animal medications, right? I don't even know if that makes sense.
I'm assuming you're talking about like the dewormers, the ivermectin, and the fen,
Yeah,
whatever it's called, the dewormer stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So I, again, for me personally, I'm going to go back to plant medicines. Whatever Mother Earth gives us is probably better than anything we can ever manufacture, whether that's for humans or animals or what. And that's just sort of how I feel about that.
Well, I know during the shutdown, I got really frustrated looking at the numbers, and I think I even made a Facebook post about it. Like New York had all these active cases and all these deaths, but they never reported, or they probably did, I just didn't see it. They didn't report recovery numbers. And at the same time, I was seeing in my own state of Tennessee active cases, recovered cases, and people who had passed away from it. And so I got a lot of frustration around the numbers, the way things were being reported. Um, I know just for me with the masks, it felt a lot like fear mongering to me, making people stand 6 feet away. Then you find out about the facial recognition later, about the cameras being used. It works best for people to be 6 feet away from each other. So it's like, was there something else there? It just makes you start questioning when you hear things like this. I don't know the answer to that. One of the things about the masks, I know for when I would go out, people were it was almost like they were uber zombies. They wouldn't even look at each other. Nobody, you couldn't see people smiling at each other and connecting and interacting. And I didn't realize how important that was for me. And on top of it, I didn't realize how much of a mouth reader I was when people would speak and I couldn't understand what people were saying. And then also, when we breathe, it's another way that we release excrement from our body. Our fat cells actually release through our breath. So, yes, we may be somewhat protecting people from things that are being you're breathing out, but the person breathing them out, there's so much more that needs to be released that they're taking back in. And so, was it causing worse issues for people? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Did it cause lung issues because of wearing the mask so much? I know at work, where I was working at the time, and I had heard things because I don't know if I mentioned, but during this time, it's like I found Q and I kind of went down the Q path. And so it was a lot of, conspiracy theories, which some of those have come true. We have found out. And I'm not going to say everything that was being pushed through there is truth because some of it, is crazy and some of it's not. And it just, there's truth mixed in with pretty much everything. So there was just a lot about, oh, you're going to see all these giveaways. And the next thing I know, my work is doing something like that. They're doing a raffle. And if you've had the vaccine, you can win $1,000. And I'm going, what is happening? Why is this happening? And it just, to me at the office, I mean, it felt like just another way of division. It all started feeling very divisive to me. Those who took the vax and were, so proud to have those masks on versus us who were over here going, God, we just want to breathe. And I want to see you smile and I want to interact with you. And then I also was hearing about all of these nefarious types of ingredients that were in the vaccine. And then they're showing the pamphlet from the vaccine boxes. Pharmacists open them up and there's nothing there. And it's because it was experimental at the time. So they didn't have any information they could print on the document. So those were some of the things that I was seeing.
Yeah.
And I had already made the decision I wasn't going to take the vaccine. I had not taken a vaccine since I was in my mid 20s. I took the flu vaccine 2 years in a row, and I had been sicker those two times than I had ever been in my life. And the only thing I could attribute it to was taking those vaccines. And yes, we did take vaccines as children. And when you and I were younger, it was a lot less than what the kids are bombarded with today. So, if in fact the vaccines have heavy metals in them and weird other ingredients, like I've heard aborted fetal cells are in there, it's like, why would you put aborted fetal cells in a What in the world? What is happening? So, and then also going down, like you were mentioning about the plant-based medicine and listening to various doctors, some who have left the medical field because they were so disillusioned with the pharmaceutical push and the patients not getting well. And they're going, all we're doing is managing symptoms. And Dr. Edward Group he said it really well. Our illnesses and diseases are caused from having a toxic external environment and a toxic internal environment. So again, it all comes back to, what we're taking in, breathing in, putting on our skin, and then what we're taking into our bodies because our bodies can only work as well as it can work to detox. And again, it's not used to all these weird ingredients. So that's kind of some of the things for me. And then
Yeah.
again, it was just all the diversion and all the fear and the families, I just remember, hearing people not going to Thanksgiving or Christmas because somebody's not going to wear a mask and then, the fights that ensued. And it's just like, y'all, it all is just such fear mongering and just division tactics. So we just need to love each other where we are. And I I respect your decision, Tammy, back then with, getting the vaccine and, that was a personal choice for you. But then for me, I didn't take it and that was a personal choice for me and I have zero regrets.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's done is done, but, I'm going to be the first one to tell you I wear hearing aids, so I don't hear well anyway. And I definitely depend on reading lips. When I'm listening to someone, I have to see someone. However, if I have to sacrifice reading lips for someone to be alive, that was a risk I was willing to take, and I think that was, it just wasn't Like there was nothing more important to me. And again, this could be because of my healthcare background. There's nothing more important than saving a life. And yes, there are a lot of rumors going around and this and that and who and that. And honestly, I think that goes a whole long way in contributing to the division. Um, because nobody knows what the real truth is. And when somebody does have the real truth, when you do have people who really have spent their entire lives learning and developing these vaccines, I mean, these are professional people who this is what they've devoted their lives to. And then, we have some keyboard warriors in the background saying, well, I'm not going to do that because I looked it up on Google and what? Fuck that. I mean, yes, everyone is sovereign over their own body and everyone gets to make their own choices. And I'm all about that. But, you know, I guess for me, when your choice has the ability to impact 500,000 people and whether or not they're still on this earth, to me, it seems a little more clear cut that there is a civic responsibility to preserving life. And and that's fine. If you don't want to take the vaccine, okay, don't take the vaccine, but protect the others around you. So don't go around them. Don't, because you don't know, right? You don't know what you're carrying. We had to take the flu vaccine working in a hospital each year because, well, because we had to take it, or we had to wear a mask for, let's see if I recall this correctly. We had to wear a mask from October and through March if we refused to take the vaccine. And there were people who had religious objections, obviously, to doing that, so they wore the masks. It's just not that big a deal. Um, and um, there were times that I took the flu vaccine and I still got the flu. And that's because the strains change every year. So, it's all crapshoot with the vaccine strain that you get. So you could get vaccinated for one strain and then it's a whole different one that's actually making the rounds, which is why it's so important for older people to get that. Um, I wanted to go back though to something you said too, the plant medicines and the whole our diseases and illnesses are products of our internal and external environments. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I honestly believe that much of our external environment has to do with air quality, pollutions that are caused by corporations, capitalistic greed, um, our food quality again, has been completely deteriorated because of corporations and capitalistic greed. We rarely eat real food anymore in the US. Usually it's very chemical laden. It's GMO, so it's not even real food. And interestingly enough, less than 2% of the corn that we produce in the country and eat in the country is actually um, real corn. Everything else is GMO corn, and you can't even get the seeds anymore to plant. So I totally agree with that. I think that we are being killed. Really, I mean, I
I'm
don't know
not
of another way to
disagreeing with
say
you.
it. We are being killed by the toxins that we have created and marketed and sold as better products. This is a great product, blah, 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 all of those things. And is medicine subject to that? Absolutely. It absolutely is subject to that. So, Oh, and the soil, that's another thing. We've overplanted and overharvested without allowing the earth to regenerate, and without caring for the earth. We don't do our part to actually care for the planet that protects us and keeps us healthy. So, the soil that we actually, when we do try to grow our own food, we have shitty soil to put it in. So we're still not getting the minerals and nutrients that we need, from the food that we even grow ourselves. So, um, you know, who's who do we blame for that? I don't know. Does blaming even do any good? When do we get to the point where we say, as a people, it's enough? We've had
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. Well, I'm
We
saying today
want
we've had
differently.
enough. And I
Yeah,
think all of us should say we've had enough. We don't consent
exactly.
and
And
just say it and put it out there.
I'll tell you one of the best things for COVID, around COVID for me, was the fact that we were forced to slow down.
Hmm.
It was the fact that we were forced to stay in our homes and spend time with our families, get to know them as people, and just relax, just regulate our nervous systems. We were all of us, and I say we because I was too. We were all so fixated before that on churning on the hamster wheel. Like we were all corporate slaves, all of us.
Yeah.
And until the point at which Mother Earth forced us to stop, to stay home, to stop doing everything that we have been doing, I don't think anybody awakened to that. You know, we had the spiritual people out there that everybody thought were all just woo woo and a little loco, maybe, but no one really awakened to the fact that we were not sovereign in our own lives. We had no ability to make choices for ourselves. We were tied to jobs that earned us money to pay the bills for the things we bought that took all of us away from the things that matter.
Right. Right. Yeah, I did actually kind of have that epiphany when I was home and I was sitting out on my back porch and watching the birds come up to the bird feeder and just the squirrels coming up and just the other wildlife that was around and just the beauty that was right there in
Right,
my own space that I had really not taken a time to just sit and absorb and just appreciate. And
right,
and then also with my husband, I mean, he and I, we'd see each other in the morning. We both head off to our own jobs and then we'd see each other at night for a little bit. But, you turn on the TV and how was your day? And, you talk for a few minutes and you're so tired and you're just so, but yet you're still just absorbing everything that's coming in, that's programming you from the TV, whether you're watching it or not, your subconscious is taking it in. And so we're just sitting there, in our spaces, and that's what we did every day. Hamster
right,
wheel, like you called it. And then on the weekends, the 2 days of freedom we have, we're filled with going out to bars, going to dinners, meeting with friends, partying, going to the lake, going to football games, whatever that looked like. So those 2 days were gone. And by the time Monday rolled around, I'm in a fog just from all the activities and everything I've taken into my poor body. Thank you, body, for taking care of me. And, another week, same thing. Same thing, week after week, a day after day after day. And I don't live those days anymore like that.
right. And then, we were all homebound for a few months at that time, but during those few months, it wasn't just about us either. Like you said, the animals started coming out again. The animals started living again.
Mm.
When everyone had to stay home and we couldn't drive cars or run trains or buses or airplanes, or corporations that, produce pollution, when all of that stopped, even for just those few months, the earth herself got a chance to breathe. And there's something really beautiful about that, you know? And what makes me sad is that it took a disease that cost so many people for us to actually be willing, or I guess a lot of us weren't willing, but for us to be forced to do it, to be forced to take care of ourselves and the earth.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I think
there's
that's the first
something,
year we did a garden. We did like our
yeah,
first little garden, and we've been doing a little garden every year. And I know for me, I was so happy. A couple years ago, we planted some purple hull peas or pink-eyed peas, whichever one. And now we have both because they're all mixed in together. But and just sitting on my back porch when I had enough or bought some at the farmer's market and just shelled them, and how
right,
therapeutic it was just to work with my hands from something that Mother Earth created that I am going to eat. I'm going to prepare myself, and how much love went into all of that through the whole process. And I mean, when I cook, they taste amazing. And it just feels so good when I pull that bag out of my freezer and it says, Walpole Garden. And that's, yeah.
that's
So
amazing.
it's
Is that
fun.
a
And my
funny
husband
story?
doesn't like them, so he doesn't eat them, but I eat them. So anyway. But he gets his peppers and he gets his tomatoes and his cucumbers. So the things that he really likes in the garden, we do. And so we may expand it a little bit more this year. So that's a lot of fun. We get a lot, we have been getting a lot at the farmer's market. We've kind of gotten out of that. And once I get back from my trip, I'm really going to refocus and get back into going to the farmer's markets and getting those vegetables and just items that are made, by people and not
Right,
corporations.
right.
And it's just, you can tell a difference. And those
Yeah,
farmers are so appreciative of you buying their goods. So there's other options. I mean, we need to
we
come
made
together.
yeah, we made the decision before we moved here, but definitely after we moved here, that wherever possible, we support individuals with our money. We buy from individuals and not corporations. And that includes Amazon. I'm not going to say I'm a purist and I don't shop from Amazon because I do. There are some things that we can only get that route here. It's a little bit different than being back home. But for the most part, we do. We buy everything local and we spend our money and use that to help the local people where we live because that's how we want to be in community. We want to be a part of a community. Um, I have a funny pea shelling story to tell you. When I was a kid, my dad grew all kinds of gardens and foods and everything. And we were the only people in the little town of Chunky, Mississippi, population 300, 298 are my relatives. We were the only people in town who had an electric pea sheller. And so Daddy would sell the peas and he would sell them shelled, but I was the one who actually shelled them, right? Because it was you to go shell these peas. And the way that this machine worked is that you had to wet the peas and you put them on top of this tray and then you slid them through these two cylinders that
Okay.
kind of mashed the peas out. And the peas would fall underneath there into a basket and the hulls would fall off into whatever you had to catch the hulls with. So my cousin Kim was visiting one summer with us. She's gonna kill me for telling the story. And she thought we were country people. And so it was not necessarily always fun to come and stay with us. And so she was out shelling peas with me and she bent over to push the hulls down. And when she did, her hair got caught in one of the cylinders and it pulled a plug of her hair out like the size of a quarter, literally. Like
You
we,
wrote about that in your
I
book.
did.
Yes, you did. I remember this story. I'm going, I know this story. Yes. Your book, Living Without Skin. What? Yeah,
Yes,
Living Without
living
Skin.
without skin.
Without skin. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So what'd
so,
she
like,
do?
oh, listen, she still has nightmares. screamed and cried. And I mean, I would have too. I'm sure it was extremely painful.
Yeah.
But yeah, she didn't come back to visit in the summer anymore after that. Bless that baby.
Oh my goodness. That had to have been traumatic for you too, though, when that happened.
Well, it was just, it was all so fast. You know how things like that happen so
Yeah.
quickly, and you're like, what? You know, and just turn the pea sheller off. But yeah, so
Yeah,
um,
we weren't that fancy down at my papa's house. He had us a bucket. I mean, we went out and we picked them, my sister and I. We get a, and then we sat out under that carport and we shelled for hours and we loved it. We loved it. And so
yeah. Well, I
it's like
didn't love it because I did it all the time.
we
And I
didn't.
hated it. And I swore when I got grown, I would never have a garden. And yet, a few years ago, what did I do but plant a vertical garden? And I know my daddy was like, what? You did what?
Yeah.
It was great. And yes, I agree. When we have hopefully we will be in a house, a new house by May for us. And we plan to have a hydroponic garden. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yes, something my husband wants me to check into, and I need to do this, and I've been meaning to because it looks like sprouts are really easy to do, like in jars, and
Yeah.
they're real easy to do at home, and I just haven't done it yet. So that's something else I want to check out and do. Because, but then there's a vendor at the farmer's market, and his are the best. Pinky's Micros, they're the best out in Nolensville. So he's here in the Nashville area and does a great job. And so
Oh yeah.
I credit him with, helping me get on my path to health because he in 2021 was one of the first vendors I started buying from, and it's just fantastic. So,
I
and
was
that's the
gonna
thing, you
say,
get to know them as friends and people,
yeah.
and they really, really appreciate it. And it's a lot more fun to go through there and some of the stuff you find.
You guys probably have great access to farmers
We
markets
do.
too, where you are. So
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we do.
And you know, where we are now, there even the grocery stores, the markets have fresh foods here. And that's one of the best things about being in a smaller town where we are. The um, carnicerias and pescaderias all have, you know, these are people who have been here for generations. And
Mhm.
so their families have run these meat markets and fish markets and bread markets, fruit markets for generations. And so they are a vital part of the community, and it's beautiful, you know, to
Yeah.
see. And
And you're
same, you get to know them.
and you're getting real food.
Absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
find too, I mean, my husband and I used to eat out a lot, and we don't these days. We eat home a lot more.
Yep.
And I mean, I have a hard time eating out now, especially, the prices. And yes, grocery prices have gone up as well. But you go to the farmer's market, you get, I don't know, you spend 100, $150 worth. But when you eat those good healthy foods, it's like your body is getting the better nutrients. And so you're not as hungry because your body's
Right.
getting what it needs. And so when we're eating the fake food, the box processed stuff and what have you, you're not getting what you need. And so your body signal, I want more and more and more. And of course, then you've got your parasites on top of that that are hungry and they're wanting the
And
sugar
sugar.
and they
Yeah,
really want the
everything
sugar.
has sugar in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So,
you know, we've noticed that being here. Like we literally eat maybe one meal a day,
mhm.
and we might have a couple pieces of fruit or, you know, something, a snack later, but we just eat about one meal a day and that's
Yeah.
it. And it's
Yeah,
good.
which I think is probably more in line with what our bodies need. I find that too, Tammy, is that I
Hmm.
do good just eating some fruit and then having like one, maybe afternoon meal a day or later on
Yeah,
in the day. And that way I get, kind of a good intermittent fast in there as well to where,
yeah.
my body's own healing mechanism is kicking on. And instead of working on digestion the entire day, eat those three
Right.
square meals so you can make sure your
Right.
body is focused on just all of its energy going to digestion versus, healing and clearing out those cells that are just waste at that point. And so,
Did you
yeah,
know that that was a marketing program, the 3 meals a day?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not
That was
surprised.
introduced into our country through a marketing program from someone who wanted to make a profit.
Well, I mean, the way it's breakfast, so it's break fast. I mean, they
Mhm.
just took what that was happening and made it. So, yeah, I mean, get
Yeah.
those three squares in. Make them
Yep.
as heavy as possible, too. Get those eggs
And
and
add all the
bacon
sugar
and
so we can create a craving and keep them
yeah,
coming back.
yeah, yeah. So, well, I mean, yeah, back to COVID though. Yeah, I mean, it changed my life going through that process. And, like I mentioned, but my father died in November of 2019. COVID
Mhm.
hit. And, and then God, I went to a deep depression during
Yeah.
COVID and then my dad. And I know for me, like I would go to Chick-fil-A every morning, get that biscuit, get that big Diet Coke, get the little hash browns because those are good too. I mean, why would you just stop at the biscuit? And so, yeah, I gained a ton of weight during that time. And, then you find out about how bad the diet sodas are and, oh my gosh, and the ingredients in that they have to I can't remember what it is they put in the sodas that is necessary to keep your stomach from you throwing it back up and getting out of your system because it's like at a 2.5 like on the pH factor scale, which is highly acidic, like battery acid or something crazy. And yet we put that in our body every day and it's a craving because of the ingredients that are in it. So,
It
yeah, that was one of the
absolutely
first
is.
things I had to stop, but just
And
going through that whole
interestingly enough,
process.
you read about all the probiotic, well, take these probiotics or these probiotics, and rarely do any of them actually do anything to help the candida
Yeah.
that's already in your system. And that's the biggest problem. That's what keeps you craving sugar.
Yeah.
So, um, and interestingly enough, you can make your own probiotics. So it's just fermentation. So
Yeah, I've actually done that. I've made a version of yogurt out of, oh, I'm going to say this wrong because you know how I say words wrong. Just think of Hoover. Um, Lactobacillus reuteri, I think is what it's
yeah.
called. Dr. William Davis, he's a big component about, cultivating this yourself, making it yourself. I make yogurt, and it's not truly a yogurt. It ferments for 36 hours because you want to get the really high and in a lower temperature, the really high numbers. And so I did a really good job myself of eating that last year, but I would like to eat it with a little bit of honey and a little bit of fruit. And my favorite
Right.
was with peaches in the summer. And of course, it's
Yes.
not peach season right now. So I'm ready for the peaches to come back late May. I'm ready.
Well, yeah. So I've been following this guy on TikTok, as a matter of fact, who is kind of awesome. But he makes his own sodas. He makes his own, and through fermentation with pineapple that have so many natural probiotics that it's just kind of cool. I can't remember his name, or I would tell you. I'll have to look it up and I'll post it in the comments when we post this. But
Well, I love pineapple. That's one of the fruits that I
yes,
have eaten a lot of. And it turns out pineapple is really good for the lungs. It's got bromelain in it, and it's really good with helping to clean and clear the lungs. So I don't know if that's why I was craving it so much, but I've gone through phases where oh my God, the fruit, it's like I can't get enough of the peaches or the pineapple, and it's just
yeah.
so good, for our bodies. And David's like, why are you buying 5 pineapples? It's like, because we're going to eat them all. And they're actually easy to cut up. So, yeah,
Well, I'm gonna have to get lessons from you on how to cut a
I
pineapple
can
because
help
I
you with
suck at it.
that.
I totally suck at it.
Well, once you do it the
Also,
one time,
yeah,
you'll get it. So, yeah.
okay. You can actually boil the peels too, and it makes a really good, healthy concoction. I'm gonna totally misrepresent what I think I'm saying here. So I know that you can boil the peels, and it's supposed to be really healthy for something, whether it's you or a plant. I need
Okay.
to look it up.
Kind of like the banana peels. There's a lot of
Yes,
I,
absolutely.
I'll let those soak in mason jars and then I'll dilute it and I'll put that on the tomato plants when we've got,
Yes,
and it works really, really well for our garden. So
absolutely.
yeah, we do that
Absolutely.
too. Yeah.
So, yes, yes, so many good things for use out there right now that just come straight from Mother Earth,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know? And I think it's interesting, you know, thinking about the after effects of COVID. And yes, you know, we saw the division play out. Honestly, and I said this a few minutes ago, but I feel like that really was the beginning of the awakening for human beings. I feel like more people now than ever are feeling a pull toward
Hmm.
something. Um, like I think that people really are being drawn to community, being drawn to building something together. I think that people's eyes have been opened to the corruption,
Hmm.
the illusion, um, and and the sleepwalking, really, that has been going on my whole life, you know, yours too. I think you've said this before. All of us chose to come at this time. We all chose to be here in this timeline. And as disconcerting as it is sometimes, when it feels like everything that you were taught to trust and believe in as far as what's going on around you in your society and your government and your world, all of those things that you were taught were going to be there solid and steady underneath you are falling away. And that can feel really frightening. And it can also possess immense potential because this is where we get to start building.
Yes.
This is where we get to take all of this division and all of the conspiracy theories and all of the half truths and untruths, and maybe it's true, who the hell knows? We can take all of that and we can set it aside and we can look at the person across from us, much like you and I do. We can look at that person and know this is real. This is real. Even when everything else around us is not real or doesn't feel real or feels like it's crumbling, this is real.
Absolutely.
This, I know if I picked up the phone today and said, Lori, I need you, that you would probably be on a plane as soon as you could to get here. And I would do the same. And that's what I mean by saying this is real. We are real. The people around you are real. And so I would really like to invite the people who are watching this or listening to this to pay less attention to what you see on social media, what you see online, what you see even on your TV, what you see on your laptop, and pay closer attention to what's real and in front of you, your eyes, what's in front of you, what people are with you, what animals are with you, what trees are around you, the ground that's under your feet. Look at what's real and stop putting so much attention on what's here to distract you.
Because they are distractions. I mean, I go back and I think about that movie V is for Vendetta, and it was made, I think, in like 2006, 8, something like that. It's probably 2007 because I said 6 and 8. Anyway, um, and it was, I want to say the setting was around 2020, 2025, somewhere in like that time frame. And it was basically around, what was being pushed through the news and on the TV and then the powers behind. And it's like, there was a lot of truth in that. And that's kind of how the structure is today. And we get all of these weird messages and all this fear pumping. It's like, I want to hear the good stories. I want to hear what people are, because there's good things that are happening as well. There's so many good people in this world who just want to make it a better place. And there's people who are doing that. It's just we're not made aware of it because of the propaganda that's being pushed down to keep people in a fear mode and keep people separated and not looking at the person across from them and
And
connecting. And because that's what it's about. It's similar to like the ocean. Each drop of water is like their own individual little drops, but they make up the whole. And we're the same way. We're our own individual people, but we're still a collective and we make up the whole. And we've been, we're all like this, fighting against each other when, let's find our way into flow and working together.
I
And
agree. And
yeah,
honestly, if we were, if we would do that, then all of the stuff around us would fall in line with that.
mhm,
We have so much power as a collective. We have so much power as a people worldwide. And it's really just the power, the people who want the power, the people who want all the money and all the power are the ones who keep us fighting each other. And I think that we are so easily distracted by that that we forget we have the control, we have the say so.
we
You
do.
know, their power and their money depends on us consenting to keep doing what we're doing. So the second we say, no, I don't consent, is the second that it all changes. You know, all the crazy billionaires who apparently are all pedophiles, they all end the moment we
Yes.
say no.
Yes.
All of the governments that, are here to just take and not really give, it all stops the second we say no.
Yes, it does.
And we're not stupid. We're not stupid as a collective. We know how to be connected to each other. We know how to live with each other. We know how to care for each other. We know how to do this, and we have such abundance of that. And the second we stop believing that there is scarcity and that there's not enough for all of us, and that I need to focus on what's in it for me, the second we stop that is the second everything changes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is hard too, Tammy, because there are so many people who do live in survival mode and they just don't have access to just the basic needs as a human being that we all, just being here on this planet, have a right to shelter, have a right to clean
Food.
water, healthy food. uh Free energy. Are you telling me in 2026 we don't have a way for free energy? I mean, Nikola Tesla he invented that so many years ago, and the powers that be decided, no, 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 we're not going to do that. We're going to wire the world and then we're going to charge everybody for it when in fact it just can be pulled out of the ether. And it's
Well, I'm
like, are
going to
you
tell
kidding me?
you,
That's just one thing. I mean, what else has been? And that's once you find out about something like that, and then you start hearing that, oh, there's over 6,000, patents and technology that's not been released for us, but have been for, the elite, the uber rich. And it's like, what? No, no, that's
yeah.
us. Our people invented that.
Well, here, a lot of people use solar energy, like a whole lot of people, even in the cities. There are houses around us right now that are completely run by solar energy. And they have the big panels, on the top. If you live outside the city here in the mountains, you're not going to get utilities any other way except for solar. People have solar. Most of the time, they'll have a water well that they own or have rights to, and they grow trees and food. They grow their own food. So, yes, it's there. We just don't know that in the US because we're so accustomed to getting up every morning and going to work and earning that paycheck and
Yeah.
coming home and paying the bills to buy the things that keep us separate. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
because you have to go to work so you can pay for the car to get you to work, pay to put the gas in it, pay for the insurance they make you get, pay for your license that you got to have to drive to get to work to do that. And then it's just all connected and it's
it's a
just all,
hamster wheel. I mean, it
well,
really is.
and it's in a way, we're slaves because,
We absolutely are.
slavery is basically working for food and shelter. And then you've got people who are working three jobs. So they're like ultra slaves. Where do you fall into that category? So even the people who have, quite a bit of money, you're still doing the rat race. You're still doing it. How does your heart feel? How do you
Modern day
feel?
slavery.
How do you feel?
It is. It's modern day slavery.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some really radical thoughts about all of this.
Well, we can talk more about that later because, we're going to have some time.
I just feel like, when you hit your first million, okay, I'd even be generous. Let's say you hit your first 100 million, that's where you have to stop. Anything you make over that has to be given back to the people somehow.
Why do you even need 100 million?
Exactly. I mean, I just think about some of these people. It is literally impossible to spend all the money that they have in this
Yeah.
lifetime. It's
And yet
literally impossible.
you're walking past kids on the street who don't even have shoes on. What is happening? No.
And there's so many people hungry and tired and who really, really homeless, Yes. I mean, it's just the amount of greed that exists in our world. Like it's time, you know. If it's not Jesus, it needs to be somebody come and flip these damn tables because this is ridiculous.
I saw something about a thing about Jesus, and it was, and I can't speak foreign languages or do anything like that. I'm a girl from the South, but it's basically a French two words like JE and then SUIS, however that pronounces.
Hmm.
But I saw that and I haven't confirmed it, but that stands for I am.
Yeah.
And we all are I ams.
Yeah.
So Jesus came here to show us the way, but we all have the ability to Christ consciousness and we all have the ability to do our part and to love and be kind just like Jesus did.
That's a great segue into that because I have some really radical thoughts about that too. I know that's surprising to
Should we
anyone
save
who
that for
knows
our
me.
next should we save that for our next podcast or
I would
do we
love
have
that.
time
Yeah.
today?
Yeah. No, we should probably save it. I think we
Okay.
are coming up on our 50-minute hour.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
well, I guess it's time for our P&L and we can
PNL. Yes. I love you, Tammy.
on that note,
Yeah. That'll just be, yeah.
we can end our time today. I love you so much. And
Uh,
thank you. Thank you for being willing to delve into a topic that wasn't easy for either of us.
yeah.
And it's not easy for anybody else out there. And even when it's not easy, I still love you more than anything. And there's nothing that I wouldn't do for you. So,
I feel the same, Tammy. And I know, once again, we're showing how we were at opposite ends of the spectrum on that. But however, it doesn't matter. It
right,
doesn't matter. Even
right.
if we would make different choices today, which there's some things that I think like to talk about medically on another episode, that we'll dive into. But it didn't matter to me. It's like I love
Exactly.
you, and we are all making the best decisions we could with who we were and what we knew in the moment.
Absolutely.
And, even if you feel like you would make a different decision, just know that it just, we can accept what we did and love who we were at that time because we were doing our best.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, until next week,
All
I
right,
hope you have
Tammy.
a great rest of your day. I love you.
I love you too. I'll see you
Talk to
soon.
you soon.
All right. Bye.